I am Dulakaba, an ancient creature from the analog age. I come from a time before PCs and CDs and DVDs and OMGs, and I have traveled far and wide across the length and breadth of time to bring you stories most wondrous and sage, that perhaps by their wisdom I might help to guide you through this coming age, and you might avoid a terminal case of dumbass. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the very first edition of Stories from the Big Red Chair. I thought today, I told you a story from the Big Red Chair that I'd bring you along with me as I did a little Minecraft. I'm just going to be doing a little bit of strip mining. So I need to see how deep I am here. I need to go down quite a ways here, so I'm going to get to work on that, and let's get to our story. Now, some of the stories I'll tell you during Stories from the Big Red Chair will be stories about things that happened in my life. Sometimes the stories I tell you will be ancient stories that come from Africa or Egypt or some other interesting place in the world. But today's story, the first story, and I've got to warn you about mature content, comes from Africa, and it comes from West Africa, particularly. How deep am I here? Oh, 34, we're getting closer. I'm trying to get down to diamond level. You know me, got to get down to diamond level. That's what this is about. Time to get some diamonds. Ooh, we got caves here, somewhere. We got water. Let's see what we got here. But anyway, today's story comes from the Congo. Oh, this is interesting stuff. Nice gold. Now, in the Congo, when the creator first came into existence, the creator was known as Angombe. And Angombe was both mother and father, male and female. Angombe was the highest power, the sum total of the whole universe, all together as one. But Angombe, understanding that the universe needed balance, and to be alone was not enough, divided itself into two powerful beings. Zambi Mpungo, God in heaven, and Zambi Si, God on earth. Now, Zambi Mpungo, God in heaven, was the great Father, high and distant, watching over the balance of the whole universe. And so, that was Father Zambi Mpungo. Whew. And thanks, Zambi Mpungo, that I didn't perish right there. You need to stop. There we go. Now, Zambi Si was a great mother. And the material world that we live in. So you can think of a Zambi Mpungo as being the heaven and Zambi Si being Mother Earth. And we got a little bit of goodies we can get here. Now, when Zambi Mpungo and Zambi Si came together in their marriage union, they created many, many different powerful beings, some of which were called the Nkisi. And they were like spirits or young gods, and they were set to rule over all kinds of things in the world. And the world was created, the animals were made, and Zambi Mpungo gave every being that he created special gifts, something that belonged just to them. Now, such a thing in the ancient language of the Congo is called a tumba, and it means a focal point of power. And everybody had their tumba. The lion's tumba was his mighty, mighty tooth. The leopard's tumba was his mighty claws. They allowed him to dig into the ground and go like crazy. And of course, the toucan's tumba was the ability to use his big old beak to drill right through the wood. Mountain Mysteries. Well, among all the different animals that had been given their tumba, among them was Rooster. And, you know, Zambi and Pungo, when Zambi and Pungo's power united with the Zambi Sea and they created the animals and gave each one their tumba, the animals were supposed to figure out themselves what their tumba was and how to use it. It was part of their process of growing. And pretty much most of the animals figured it out pretty quick. I mean, come on, when you're the eagle and you've got that kind of eye, you can see that far, obviously. That tumba is meant to be used to see from great distances while you fly. It's pretty easy to figure out. And pretty much everybody's tumba was pretty easy to figure out, except for poor old Rooster. He could not figure out why Zambi had given him this big old tail with these feathers that arched up and hung down behind him. Just could not fathom what was it, why was it that Zambi had given him his tail. And as he thought about it one day, he realized that the end of his tail hung down over his behind. And he got to thinking about it and thought, well, gosh, you know, I crap a lot. You know, it just seems like the one thing that Zambi gave me a tremendous ability to do is crap. And obviously it's hanging there behind my behind so I can use it to wipe my behind. And so Rooster, whose name was Nsunsun, and Nsunsun began to use his tail to wipe his behind. Now, this was great for Nsunsun. He felt like he understood the purpose of his tumba, and he was feeling pretty jazzed about the whole situation. However, the other animals around began to notice that his tail wasn't standing up all beautiful and iridescent anymore. In fact, it was starting to hang down pretty low, and eventually it started to drag behind him. And as it dragged behind him, it started to leave a trail of crap everywhere that Nsunsun went. And pretty soon, the other animals just didn't want Nsunsun coming and hanging out and visiting with him. And Nsunsun was feeling pretty bummed about that fact. He was feeling pretty lonely, and he just didn't know what to do. And one day, he was just sitting there at the river. He had gone to go see his friend Turtle. Turtle used to be his greatest friend in the whole world. And when he had approached Turtle on the shore, his dear friend Turtle had said to him, can you believe this? Had said to him, it's a darn good thing I carry my house on my back, and that only I can fit inside it. Well, Rooster was heartbroken to be insulted by his old friend Turtle. Oh, well, you can imagine he was pretty down. Well, Funzi, also known as Fulubunzi, and many other great and wonderful names, was a spirit who had come to earth with those that had been sent by Zambi and Pungo, God in heaven. And Zambi and Pungo had sent Funza so that Funza could help in the creation of the animals and watching over the animals and helping to bring balance to things. And so as Funza was walking along, he came across Rooster and he saw how sad Rooster was. And Funza said, Rooster, why are you sitting there being so sad? And Rooster said, oh, Funza, Zambi gave me this wonderful tail. I thought I understood what it was for, but you know, now I'm starting to doubt because, you know, I thought it was for wiping my behind. And, well, now I got this crap all over my tail, and it leaves crap everywhere I go, and I don't know what to do. Nobody wants to be my friend anymore. And Funza said, Rooster, tell you what we do. Sometimes we misunderstand things. We're going to go down to the river. Let's go down to the river. And he said, oh, the crocodile's at the river. And he said, don't worry, I'm Funza. The crocodile respects me. I'll protect you. And so they went together down to the river. And down at the river, Funza gently backed Rooster up to the river, and he washed Rooster's tail clean. And because he had the power of the wind at his back, Funza made the wind blow, and he dried it all wonderfully and made it all nice and stand up and iridescent again. And it just so happened then that Lady Chicken, also known as Hen, happened to be walking by on the hill, and when she looked down the hill and she saw Rooster's tail gleaming in the sun, she was duly impressed, as was, of course, the purpose of his tumba, to attract the ladies. And she looked down and she cackled And gosh, he kind of blushed, and Funza said, "So, what do you think? Do you understand what your tail is for now?" And that's when he realized that it was, of course, to attract a mate. And he also realized an important lesson. You see, he realized that if we misunderstand the gifts that God gives us, and we misuse those gifts, we can go through our life leaving a trail of crap behind, and nobody wants to deal with us. And sometimes we just got to go down to the river and wash our own behind, become responsible for our own problems, rely on the help of our friends so that we can learn our purpose and we can come to a better understanding of what it is that the Creator gave us. And when Rooster realized what it was, that was the lesson he had learned. When we learn lessons, we become greater, and this is when Rooster gained his second tumba. Because at that moment, he called out, look at me, I understand, which in the language of the people, Bantu, is kukukalulu, kukukalalulu. And that is how Rooster found the use of his tail and found the tumba of his voice. Thank you for joining me here in the Mysterious Caverns for the first of many tales from the Big Red Chair, brought to you by the Gaming Grandpas, being me, Delakaba, and my good friend, Hawkeye. I will be playing various games as I tell you stories from the Big Red Chair, and I hope to have certain guests come along on some of those games and tell some of their own stories from their own Big Red Chairs. And if you're wondering what the whole Big Red Chair thing is about, well, I guess you'll have to stay tuned, because I'm sure somewhere in there must be a tale about why it's tales from the Big Red Chair. Y'all be good. I'll catch up with you later. I'm out. Peace. I'm representing for the old folks, the bold folks, the trailblazers that had nothing but cards and dice. These baby video game masters, they can sit and cry, 'cause we was skinning oaks before you was a gleam in your daddy's eye. I'm representing for the old folks, the bold folks, the four-eyed losers with nothing but our hearts and minds, who need a big screen TV from some foreign nation, 'cause the theater of the mind has always been in ultra definition. I'm representing for the old